Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation regular Board of Directors meeting for December 11th, 2025. I'd like to start off by asking Essa to please take the roll.
In attendance, we have Mayor Gary Mackler and directors Jason Bradshaw, Brad Tun, Seth Colby, and Scott Glenn.
So we have 5. We have a quorum at present. Before we go on, I'd like to ask our newest director, Seth Colby. Good, welcome.
Welcome. Good to see you all.
Since you're attending remotely, I do need to ask if there's anyone else with you in attendance today.
There is none.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to introduce yourself to the board?
Yes, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. My name is Seth Colby. I am 4 days on the job, so please treat me with kid gloves and explain every single acronym that you will use today because I will be lost completely. I'm coming from the on Friday, I was the chief economist for the state of Hawaii and working at DPED. And 4 months before that, I was at the Department of Taxation as the tax research and planning officer. So a lot of my work has been done mainly through research and doing an economic analysis on solutions and problems and thinking about how we can. I know housing is one of the most important issues. I have worked on these kind of like on a larger scale in terms of economics, but I really look forward to working with all of you and understanding the nuances and the details of the solutions that we're trying to find for the state.
Thank you. Glad to have you aboard, Steph.
Thank you.
Okay, before we go on, we will take public testimony as we work through the agenda, and I would like to ask Gordon Penning to come up and please share the rules for giving public testimony.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, board members. Hello to you all. I'm Gordon Pang, Housing Information Officer for HHFDC. To the members of the public participating either in person or remotely, these are the instructions if you would like to provide testimony at our board meeting on board meeting agenda items. Number 1, all remote attendees will need permission to speak or share screen by clicking on the raised hand icon. Again, if testifying remotely, when the chair asks for those providing testimony, please click on the raised hand icon of your screen. Number 2, if testifying in person, when the chair asks for those providing testimony, please raise your hand. Number 3, either way, the chair will call upon each raised hand accordingly during the respective agenda items. Whether you are testifying in person or remotely, when called upon to testify, please state your first and last name and provide the name of any organization you represent. At the discretion of the chair, each testifier will have up to 3 minutes to speak per agenda item. At the 3-minute mark, I will yell time. We ask that you take no more than 15 seconds beyond that to conclude your testimony. Please keep in mind that this is an opportunity for you to share your thoughts with the board only. Neither the board nor staff are required to answer any questions you may ask during your testimony. And finally, if you're wishing to submit written testimony, instructions for doing so are located on the first page of the agenda under the section titled Providing/Submitting Testimony. Thank you. Jordan.
I'd like to go to section 2, approval of minutes. We have the approval of the special meeting minutes for November 20th, 2025. Is there a motion? So moved. Second. And we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Going on to section 3 of today's agenda, this is discussion and or decision making. The first item is under section A, which is to approve the establishment of a sub-account within the dwelling unit revolving fund for the purpose of financing regional infrastructure improvements for the county of Maui pursuant to section 201H-1915 Hawaii Revised Statutes. Is there anyone in the public who would like to offer testimony on this agenda item?
The motion.
I'll just. Look at that. Okay, no testimony. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we'll turn it to staff. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair and members of the board. My name is Peter Wood and I assisted in the review of this request. This for action is to request the board's approval to establish a sub-account within the dwelling unit revolving fund or DURF for the purpose of financing regional infrastructure improvements for the county of Maui. On November 18, 2025, the Maui County Housing Agency submitted a request to HHFDC to establish the Regional Infrastructure Sub-Account under Section 218-191.5. The sub-account would allow projects within the Maui County to access DURF for infrastructure improvements, supporting housing and transit-oriented development. The fund will be used by the developer for the construction of the Waikapu Country Town backbone infrastructure, which includes a roadway, a signalized intersection, water well support system for potable and non-potable water, underground water, sewer, drainage, and electrical utilities, a stormwater retention basin, and a community park. The backbone infrastructure will support its first build-out of an affordable rental housing project by Kanaha residents. Kanaha residents will provide 212 affordable multi-family rental units for households earning up to 60% of the area's median income. The backbone infrastructure will also support the development of 31 market rate rural lots, a public school site, and approximately 100-unit market rate single-family housing project. The developer intends to request up to $17 million from DURF as a loan, and they intend to use proceeds from bulk lot sales to pay back the loan. Section 218-191.5 authorized HHFDC to provide grants and loans for regional infrastructure improvement in planned growth areas to state and county agencies and private developers through establishment of the regional infrastructure sub-account for the county that the project is located. Eligible improvement under the statute include sewer, water, drainage, roads, telecommunication, and broadband, provided they expand the infrastructure capacity. As of November 30th, 2025, the balance of net available DURF is approximately $62.6 million. Staff is currently reviewing the loan application for compliance, feasibility, and meeting minimum threshold requirement under the rules. Support from the Maui County Council, the mayor, and the county housing department are some of the key requirements under the rules. This request is supported by the Maui County Resolution number 25-207, which was adopted on November 7, 2025. A separate fall action will be presented to the board at a future date seeking approval for the regional infrastructure loan for the project. To conclude, staff respectfully request that HHFDC board approve the establishment of a sub-account within DURF for the county of Maui and authorize the executive director to undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this fall action. And I believe the developer is here virtually today to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go on, I see that Director Evans has joined the meeting remotely. Director Evans, is there anyone in attendance with you today?
No, I am alone.
Thank you. Okay, this time I'd like to open it up for questions. Directors, if you have questions of staff, or if the developer attending remotely would like to speak on this agenda item. An opportunity.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Jeff Uyoka. I'm the attorney for Waikuku Country Town, the developer. Mr. Minakami and his staff have been great helping us. We really appreciate it. Ms. V did a great job introducing it, but I'm available if you have any more specific questions regarding the project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Next on the agenda is item 3B. This is to approve 1, additional uses for the dwelling unit revolving fund budget. And 2, the establishment of an imprest account for operations at the 803 Waimanu Oseo Condominium project located in Kaka'ako, Oahu, TMK number 2-1-049084. Is there a motion, directors? We have a motion. Is there a second? And a second. Anyone in the public who would like to give testimony for this agenda item? Hearing none, we'll turn it over to staff. Morning.
Morning, Chair, members of the board. My name is Hunter Miller. I'm a housing development specialist for HHFDC. The action in front of you is to approve additional uses for dwelling unit revolving fund budgets and the establishment of an account for operations at the 803 Waimanu for sale condominium project. The block 803 Waimanu is an affordable and market for sale condominium project with 153 units. At the September 12th, 2024 Board of Directors meeting, due to stagnant unit sales at the project and outstanding loan balances, the board approved a dwelling unit revolving fund budget of $500,000 for project expenses and legal fees for the event that staff would need to enforce HHFDC's rights under the dwelling unit revolving fund loan documents. At the May 8th, 2025 Board of Directors meeting, the board was presented with various options for remedying the outstanding senior and dwelling unit revolving fund loan balances while maintaining affordability at the project. The board favored purchasing a sufficient number of unsold units to enable the developer to pay the remaining balance of the senior loan, effectively moving the dwelling unit revolving fund loan into first position. The purchased units could then be sold or rented by HHFDC to affordable buyers, or HHFDC would set up a rent-to-own program. In line with the discussion from the May 2025 Board of Directors meeting, at the July 10th, 2025 Board of Directors meeting, the board officially approved the purchase of units at the project, the establishment of a dwelling unit revolving fund budget in the amount of $6,500,000 for the acquisition and carrying costs of units of the project. Staff is currently negotiating a purchase and sale agreement with the developer for 21 condominium units of the project. As of November 24th, 2025, the senior loan balance, including principal and interest, was approximately $5,600,000, and the dwelling unit revolving fund loan balance was approximately $10,937,000. Units purchased by HHFDC will be sufficient in value to repay the senior loan, and any excess proceeds from this transaction will go towards paying the remaining dwelling unit revolving fund balance. After acquiring units, HHFDC will set up a rent-to-own program at the project. The rent-to-own program will have a 5-year rental period and will be available to qualified residents earning 80% to 100% of the area median income. The annual operating expenses, which include a management fee, repairs and maintenance, utilities, association of unit owners fees, and a contingency, are estimated to be $12,000 a month and $144,000 per year. Upon full lease up of the rent-to-own program, the estimated annual rent revenue is approximately $380,000. The estimated annual net operating income at full program occupancy during the initial 5-year rental period would be approximately $237,000. Staff have not finalized the rental rates, unit prices, or total credits households will receive at the end of the rental period. However, staff estimate that participants will receive around a 20% credit towards the final purchase price of their units. Staff will procure a property manager to operate the rent-to-own program at the project. HHFDC's property management contracts for HHFDC-owned projects have typically provided for the establishment of an IMPRES account from which the property manager can pay for budgeted operating expenses for the project. On a monthly basis, the property manager will submit to HHFDC a request to replenish approved budgeted costs that are actually incurred by the property manager. Current operating costs are estimates, and there may be unexpected expenses incurred in the early months of operations. Upon the execution of a property management contract, staff recommends the establishment of this IMPRES account at $36,000, which is 3 times the monthly budgeted operating expenses for the rent-to-own program. To fund the rent-to-own program, staff recommend expanding the use of both the dwelling unit revolving fund budget established at the September 2024 Board of Directors meeting and the dwelling unit revolving fund budget established at the July 2025 Board of Directors meeting to include the operation of a rent-to-own program at the 803 Waimanu for sale condominium project. With that, it's staff's recommendation that the HHFDC Board of Directors approve the additional use of the dwelling unit revolving fund budgets for carrying costs and operating costs associated with the rent-to-own program as described herein, and the establishment of an IMPRES account as described herein, to authorize the executive director to take all actions necessary to effectuate the purposes of this action.
Thank you. Directors, are there any questions?
Chair, I don't have a question, but just a comment.
Yes.
That you guys, I know it's been a long road, that the initial approach that you guys were thinking, the board suggested going this route. Really appreciate you putting the effort in to get us here.
Great work for the staff to set this program up.
I have a question about, have you had an opportunity to evaluate the financial position of the association of owners?
Yes, staff have. I personally have not. I don't know if Albert wants to speak on that.
Yeah, so when we're, sorry, I'm Albert Palmer. I'm the development section chief at HHFDC. When we're looking at the estimated monthly operating costs, we're building in a little bit of a buffer for potential increase in the association fees.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah,
Yes, Director Evans.
Yes, thank you, Chair. How many of the units in the rent-to-own program will come with parking and how many without parking?
So just one unit, it'll be the 100% AMI unit will have parking. 20 units will not have parking.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, all for the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve, say aye.
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 Okay, we have none opposed, so the motion carries. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Next, we're moving to section 4 of our agenda. This is a report by the executive director. I understand that we're going to receive some testimony for this part of the agenda, so but you come on up, introduce yourselves.
Yeah.
I do want to just note that we have received 2 pieces of written testimony. One came in, I believe, on Monday and received another one via email yesterday.
Also got some breakouts too. So we're gonna with right through the.
My name is Doug Bigley from Kaikahan. I'm here today because I need to get more clarity from HHFDC to work here in Hawaii. Okay. So we were just in an opening, some time, whatever, they said, oh, it'd be great to have more of these projects, but under this current environment, those projects would be impossible. And part of the issue is that I can't read what's really important. to the agency. And what I'm going to give you, the page one of that you've seen, quite a bit of is what we call best practices. Okay? How agencies behave out in the market. And we've tried to do our best to compare what's done here to what's done by your peer group. And we've added some numbers to that. Okay. So if you look on line one, we say, I hope we can all agree to the fact that transparency is a good thing. We want to have low discretion. We would rather the QAP do all the work, and we don't want to add discretion to it to get to our end result, right? And then we would say that we don't want to burden, I suppose, the developer with great costs, especially when our process is uncertain. But that's not what they're doing. Okay, so on the peer process, we looked at a bunch of stuff, looked at a bunch of data online. We may not be 100% correct because, there's a lot of material going to it. But basically 75% of your peers are more transparent than you are. High discretion, 90% of your peers, you have more discretion. I mean, you vest the discretion, the executive director. There's less discretion by 90% of states have less discretion vested in the executive director. And then we also have high cost, the QAP. This last year in 2025, it only ranked up with Kansas. To meet the criteria in the QAP, you had to spend more here than only two other states. That's Kansas, not two other states, just Kansas and Hawaii. Okay, all of those working together can lead to bad results for everybody, right? For everybody, you want to clearly dictate what it is that you want, why you want it. Now, when it comes to discretion, right? Usually those discretion items are articulated in the QAP. They're not just saying, hey, we get to do whatever we want. They say, these are the reasons we're going to do the things that we do, and here's why. Okay. So what I guess I'm asking today is consider moving to an area of more transparency. In California, we self-score. The scores goes in, the department scores it. Then it comes back out. If there's discrepancies in the scoring process, it's appealed. You can appeal it. And then they basically go by the rankings. They often do not exercise discretion. Okay. And this department, this area used to be a very low discretion area. There was a guy here way a long time ago, wasn't the executive director, but he was not going to exercise discretion. He did not like one of our projects that he did. And when I went and talked to him, he said, yeah, I don't like your project, but I'm going to do it.
Doug, we get your 3 minutes, but could you wrap up your testimony?
Yeah.
Please?
Okay, then I'm going to go over to quickly. Can I go to the case study? What good stewardship? I'll wrap it up real quick.
Yeah.
Is good stewardship demonstrated the amount of effort expended? No, it's not. It's about the fidelity to mission. Perception of fairness, because it's been thrown around a lot of times. Feeling targeted may occur, but the real question is the process equitable? So I may, even if I feel like I'm targeted, that doesn't mean anything. It's just, is the process equitable? Do we do it the same way for every? Respect and discretion. Can we be meaningful to the QAP while still exercising broad discretion? Those are incompatible. The answer is no. You can't show respect to the QAP if you have broad discretion. Evaluating stewardship. Stewardship should be evaluated not by strict adherence to metrics, by alignment with mission. The issue you're having, one of the fundamental issues, is that your metrics is driving mission and not the other way around. And so what happens is, if your mission, I say, clarifying the mission, is the mission to build units or to house families under a cost per unit framework, the priority becomes maximizing unit count. Under a mission-driven framework, the priority becomes housing more people and in family-appropriate housing. Mission should drive metrics. There's only 4 more here. Mission should drive metrics. Metrics should be designed to support mission, not define it. Okay. So let's give you an example.
Okay, well, we're at the end of your testimony. Your testimony.
Okay.
See your time.
Just read these 3. Okay, right here. I mean, we're going to be here a lot.
We we have a time limit for anyone that comes.
No,
on.
I
So
perfectly
I'm not-
understand,
it's
and
not-
look, I
that-
understand,
that's
we're gonna
not
be,
targeted
this,
at all.
I know, but this, we'll be here a lot. I expect this to be the beginning of a lot of this, because it's our only,
And I do recognize the
There's
fact
no other
that
venue.
you have participated in public meetings for past QAP developments. I've heard your voice and
Right.
listened to your words.
Well, thank you.
So,
Yeah, so I think going back to this is we got an incredibly high score on this Capilano project, and I think what it doesn't show in those numbers that Dean sent is the difference between the islands, right? Just the cost. I know cost has been a huge issue for this project since the beginning, but it was allocated once before, based on those costs, and it's due to the bedroom count, right? So if you look at a per bedroom basis or a per person basis, we're not only on par, but below average. So I urge you to look at those metrics as well. But you could also look online. You could look at other sources. California is very different. A lot of these other states, they at least give us some. The only reason we feel like we're being targeted is because we got such a high score. And we've been told, right, if you get building permits, you put $1 million, $2 million into this project, you have a high opportunity of being allocated, especially if you have a high score, which is what we did, right? So we were, So geographic, the 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom unit count, I mean, that's a big deal for us. That's directly attributes to those high costs, right? And you can do that analysis, which we've done for you as well. But again, the discretion is where we're trying to land here, right? I know you're having issues with this project, but we do need a better understanding of what's going on, right? I don't know if somebody just made a decision and told everybody, I don't know where it lands, because when we're looking at the scoring, when we're looking at the QAP, we're what, 1, 2, or 3 on all these lists. I know the RHRF is a little bit different. You guys do that differently, but sorry. And then last couple things. Mission priorities. So the unit mix target 25% studios and 1 bedrooms, 50% 2 bedrooms, and then 25% 3 and 4 bedrooms. So you've got a geographic distribution target. So 70% Oahu and 30% neighbor islands based on the population share. In the 8th point here, the comparison against HHFDC performance metrics. Again, 30% on neighbor islands, 3%, significant of investment. The unit mix goal is the increased 3 to 4 bedroom units. But I know we keep saying it's a goal, but we're not seeing it in these projects, right? Really, except ours. It's these 3 to 4 bedroom units. So highly recommend you keep an eye on that. And then the last one, the 9th one, the use of discretion and mission alignment. So again, the metrics are driving the mission, right? It's really based on cost, right? So it's pretty clear why we're getting the projects that we're getting.
That's, excuse me, that's your.
That's the third.
So you hand the baton over.
Perfect. Just finish the 9th one, so you can go on.
Thanks. Tom Fisher with Ohana. Good morning, everyone. I'll try to be brief. I don't think I'll need the full 3 minutes, but we've done a lot of work in Hawaii, primarily in the outer islands. Maui's been a project, an island we've done several projects on. We've been on Oahu. We've been on the Big Island. So we know there's a difference on the outer islands as compared to Oahu. And it's always going to cost more to do a deal on the outer island than it is on Oahu. When you add, you've heard this before already, right? When you add the number of bedrooms, there's a big need for families on the outer island, perhaps more so than Oahu. So as we look at what we've done in the past, what we're trying to do now, Dean, I know, came out and visited our Kukuia project on Maui. 200 units, RHRF, $3.5 million, I think, of RHRF funds. 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms, fully leased within a matter of days. We rebuilt 89 units on Maui that burnt to the ground. And we released those in 11 days, full of families. So it's important to us to try to understand, as Doug says, we try to look at where we're going to invest our time, money. We have to have some form of a reasonable expectations of how that's going to be treated when it comes time to allocate. I was looking through some of the 4 actions. As Doug said, we'll be back. We're just starting to go back and look at some of these, but what we're seeing is a bit of a trend. Deals were allocated in 2024, for example, came back before the board in 2025 for more money because they couldn't complete their project the way it was submitted. You've all seen this, I'm sure. Costs go up every year. I understand that. But again, when I looked at the RHRF, for example, there was a deal this last round, wasn't even on the primary or secondary list from RHRF funds, but it was allocated tax credits and bonds. So as we sit back and invest money to get building permits, we have had building permits in hand now for 6 months, and we can't do anything. We were told we had a very high, not only a high score, we were told we had the highest score by staff. If our costs are too high and your QAP in that particular section, you're going to score 0 because your costs are too high. We understand that, but the QAP, there's multiple items in that QAP that develops a score and develops a ranking. So to have kind of a get out of jail free card that says we reserve the right to make changes basically whenever or however we want, it's tough for developers to react in that market. And any developer, not just us. And I suspect other developers may have some of the same concerns we're sharing with the board here today. So again, appreciate your time. We've done a lot of business in Hawaii. We hope to do a lot more. We just have to know what's the playing field. And if discretion rests with 1 or 2 seats, and you're asking us to spend millions of dollars to get there, that's probably not a business model that works for a lot of developers. Thank you.
Any discussion, directors? Well, I have a few comments to make. I'm one of the old timers on the board, along with Director Evans. Serving in my 7th year, and when I joined the board, it was several months before the original approval for Kaialu o Kapiola back in December of 2019. And after the 1-year expiration, there were 5 additional 4 actions brought to the board. This was for extensions of the expiration dates that amounted to about 43.5 years of time extension. And each and every one of those 4 actions went through staff, went through the review, their discretion, their judgment, and the recommendation through the executive director's approval to come to the board for consideration and approval. And I just, I heard the word target, and I just want you folks to know nobody's targeting your project for you. And that has never been the case since I've been on this board. In fact, we've looked at it completely in the opposite direction, which was to support you, to give you the time extensions that you requested, that you represented you would need to get this project permitted and get your bond financing closed. So, I'm listening to that. I just, it doesn't sit well with me because I've been through quite a few 4 actions with this project. So I just wanted to say that, get that on the record. All of those 4 actions that were approved previously, I had trust and confidence in staff to do the right thing, and I still do. So going forward, I hope this project can come back to the board. I hope you can figure out a way perhaps to discussions with staff to figure out a path forward. I think that's if you can, I know you're shaking your head, Doug, but we'd certainly like to see that, see the units. We've always felt that way. Now I'm going to turn it over to the executive director for your report.
My report is before you in our board docket. I'll just note some of the highlights for projects that have been ongoing. A few departments, I know we haven't talked about that recently, but we are working with the county on securing CDBG disaster recovery funds. That would be very important to the project, but that would allow a portion of the project to become a mixed income rental project. So supporting households to earn more than 60% income. Hearing is that yes, it's needed by households below 6% AMI. There are also many displaced survivors who are higher incomes who also need housing. So we're working with the county on that funding. Hopefully we'll hear more about the amount that we receive early next year. Also, the project will be seeking exemptions to the 218H process, so we'll be seeing an application, the 218H application coming sometime next year. For the single family, Kalikama Ina program, the mortgage program, I mentioned to you last month that we had a good bond sale, the rates have been set. So for borrowers who are using government loans, FHA, VA, USDA loans, the rate is at 5.4%. For conventional family and Freddie loans, the rate is at 5.7%. There's also an optional down payment assistance component that goes along with that, where borrowers can get up to 4% of their loan amount as a second loan for down payment assistance. That pushes the rate by 0.25% higher. For the Tier 2 funding round, we'll be having bank developers who have been asking about this. We'll be having around first quarter of next year. So we'll be opening next year. And just want to make a note regarding one unit revolving fund equity pilot program. We got a call just out of the blue from the University of Utah School of Business. I guess they found out about the program somehow, and it's being considered for an award by them. So that was a very innovative approach to supporting home ownership. So I don't know how they found out about it, but it's great that it's being recognized, and great work by Lorna and her team for getting people signed up for that. I do want to acknowledge some of what Doug and his team said. Acknowledge that they have done great projects. I was out there last month for the project in Lahaina, which was been received through our RFP. So it's a beautiful project. So there is nothing personal against what that they do. It's just that we do put a lot of work into the QAP. But also know this is a 4% project. So the QAP is not the only criteria that's looked at. The 4% project looked at scoring for RHRF and bonds also. So while they did score well on the QAP, their cost, which was $1.14 million per unit, that was a factor. And we don't set strict limits on cost per unit, cost per square foot. But at some point, we have to draw the line and say, no, it's too high compared to the other projects that are also applying for financing. So we'd be happy to work with Rebecca Ohana, see if we can find a way to move this project forward. With my report.
Directors, questions for Dean? Any discussion? Hey, that could be a record for board meeting, but that brings us to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Carol. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned.
Chocolate was bad, right? Yes.